In a dramatic and unexpected turn of events, the terrorism trial of Nnamdi Kanu, the outspoken leader of the Indigenous People of Biafra, has taken a pivotal shift that has captivated the attention of Nigeria and the world. Today, November 7, 2025, at the Federal High Court in Abuja, a significant decision unfolded. Kanu, known for his fiery advocacy for the restoration of the Republic of Biafra, a nation that briefly seceded during the Nigerian Civil War over 5 decades ago, made a bold and controversial move. He refused to enter a defense in his ongoing trial, asserting that there is no legitimate law under which he can be prosecuted. This stance, rooted in his long-standing challenge to the Nigerian government's authority, led the presiding judge to rule that he has forfeited his right to present a case. After failing to utilize the 6 court days allocated for his defense, the courtroom phase has now closed, setting the stage for a critical judgment date November 2025. For those unfamiliar with the background, Kanu's journey to this moment is steeped in a complex history. The Indigenous People of Biafra, or IPOB, which he founded in 2012, seeks to revive the dream of an independent Biafran state in Nigeria's southeast. His broadcasts on Radio Biafra, calling for secession, have been at the heart of the 15 charges he faces, including terrorism, incitement to violence, and treasonable felony under Nigeria's Terrorism Prevention Act. Arrested in 2021 after a dramatic rendition from Kenya, a move later ruled unlawful by the ECOWAS court. Kanu's case has become a lightning rod for debates over justice, sovereignty, and human rights. His decision to forego a defense is seen by many as a continuation of his defiance, a gamble that could either elevate his status as a symbol of resistance or lead to his downfall. The courtroom scene today was tense, with Kanu representing himself after dismissing his legal team earlier in the year. His refusal to engage with the defense process means that the judge will now base the upcoming judgment entirely on the prosecution's evidence. This evidence is said to include recordings of his speeches, documents linking IPOB to sporadic violence in the southeast, and testimonies about the group's activities. The prosecution argues that these elements prove Kanu's direct role in inciting unrest, a claim that carries the weight of potential life imprisonment or even the death penalty under Nigerian law. Yet, without a defense to counter these allegations, the burden shifts to the judge to determine the credibility and sufficiency of the case presented. As we look toward November 20th, several factors will shape the outcome. The strength of the prosecution's evidence will be paramount. If the court finds a clear link between Kanu's words and specific acts of violence, such as attacks attributed to IPOB factions, a conviction could be imminent. However, the lack of a defense might also raise questions about due process, especially given the ECOWAS ruling that criticized his rendition. This international dimension adds another layer of complexity. Just days ago, Kanu sent a letter to US President Donald Trump, alleging numerous human rights violations by the Nigerian government, including what he describes as a genocide against Christians and Biafrans. This move has sparked global interest, with some speculating that American diplomatic pressure could influence the proceedings. Though such intervention remains uncertain, the political stakes are extraordinarily high. For the Nigerian government, a conviction would signal a firm stance against secessionist movements, reinforcing its authority in a region where tensions have simmered since the Biafran War ended in 1970. Yet this could also ignite further unrest, as Kanu's supporters view him as a hero fighting for their liberation. The southeast has already seen sporadic clashes, and a harsh sentence might fuel calls for resistance or even international advocacy. On the other hand, a lenient ruling or acquittal, though less likely, could embolden other separatist groups across Nigeria, challenging the nation's unity at a fragile time beyond the legal and political ramifications. Kanu's personal circumstances add a human element to this saga. Reports have emerged of his deteriorating health during detention, raising concerns about his ability to withstand a prolonged sentence. This humanitarian angle might sway the judge toward a more moderate penalty, such as a fixed term of decades rather than life, though the terrorism charge's severity makes this uncertain. The global community, including human rights organizations, will be watching closely, with the potential for appeals to international bodies if the judgment is perceived as unjust. So, what can we expect on November 20th, 2025? The most likely scenario is a single life sentence or a lengthy imprisonment term, consolidating the 15 charges into a unified penalty. This would reflect the court's attempt to balance justice with the need to avoid excessive escalation. However, if the judge interprets the charges as distinct acts, perhaps tying specific broadcasts to specific incidents, consecutive sentences could be imposed, though the notion of multiple life terms seems more symbolic than practical. An acquittal or dismissal remains a distant possibility given the closed defense, unless procedural flaws are glaring. The judgment will not only determine Kanu's fate but also set a precedent for how Nigeria handles dissent and separatism in the future. As the days count down, the world holds its breath. The courtroom in Abuja will become a focal point where legal arguments, political pressures, and human stories converge. For Kanu's supporters, this is a moment of hope and fear, a test of their leader's unyielding spirit. For the Nigerian government, it's an opportunity to assert control. And for the international community, it's a chance to weigh in on a case that touches on universal themes of freedom, justice, and power. On November 20th, the gavel will fall, and the echoes of that decision will resonate far beyond the courtroom walls, shaping the destiny of a movement and a nation. Until then, all we can do is wait and watch as history unfolds in real time.